Tidal hypothesis theory, George Darwin, son of Charles Darwin, wanted to come up with something original, so he invented the theory that 4 million years ago the moon was pressed nearly against the Earth, which resolved every 5 hours. Then one day a heavy tide occurred in the ocean, which lifted it out of its present location. Later, proponents of George's theory decided that the Pacific Basin is the whole moon left behind when those large ocean waves pushed it out into space. Bumpus Sparrows, 1898. Herman Bumpus was a zoologist in Brown University during the winter of 1898. By accident, he carried out one of the only field experiments in natural selection. One cold morning, finding 136 stunned house sparrows on the ground, he tried to nurse them back to health. Of the total, 72 revived and 64 died. He weighed and carefully measured all of them and found that those closest to the average survived best. This frequently quoted research study is another evidence that the most animal or plant closest to the original species is the most hardy. Subspecies variations will not be as hardy, and evolutionary entirely cross species, if the DNA code would permit it, would therefore be too weakened to survive. R. Milner, Encyclopedia of Evolution, 1990, page 61. Hugo de Veres, 1848-95, was a Dutch botanist and one of the 3 men who in 1900 rediscovered Mendel's paper on the law of heredity. One day while working with Primrose, de Veres thought he had discovered a new species. This made headlines. He actually had found a new variety, subspecies of primrose, but de Veres conjectured that perhaps his new species had suddenly sprung into existence as a mutation. He theorized that new species saltated leaped, that is, continually spring into existence. His idea is called saltation theory. This was a new idea, and during the first half of the 20th century, many evolutionary biologists, finding absolutely no evidence supporting natural selection, switched from natural selection, Darwinism, to mutation, Neo-Darwinism, as the mechanism by which the theory cross-species change occurred. Later in this book, we will discover that mutations cannot produce evolution either, for they are always harmful. In addition, decades of experimentation have revealed they never produce new species. In order to produce the mutation theory, de Veres and other research immediately began experimentation on fruit flies, and it has continued ever since, but totally without success in producing new species. Ironically, de Veres' salutation theory was based on an observational error. In 1914, Edward Jeffreys discovered that de Veres' primrose was just a new variety, not a new species. Decades later, it was discovered that most plant varieties were produced by variations in gene factors, rarely by mutations. Those caused by gene variations may be strong, although not as strong as the average original, but those varieties produced by mutations are always weak and have a poor survival rate. See Chapter 10, Mutations, for much more on the mutation problem. Walter S. Sutton and T.V. Boveri independently discovered chromosomes and the linkage of genetic characters. This was only 2 years after Mendel's research was rediscovered. Scientists were continually learning new facts about the fixity of species. Thomas Hunt Morgan, 1886 to 1945, was an American biologist who developed the theory of the gene. He found that the genetic determinants were present in definite linear order in the chromosomes and could be somewhat mapped. He was the first to work intensively with the fruit fly. Dosivler, Michael Pittman, and Adam Evolution in 1984, page 70. But research within the fruit flies and other creatures has proved a total failure in showing mutation to be a mechanism for cross-species change. Richard B. Goldschmidt, Evolution as Viewed by One Geneticist, American Scientist, January 1952, page 94. H. J. Muller, 1990-1967, upon learning of the 1927 discovery that X-rays, gamma rays, and various chemicals could induce an extremely rapid increase of mutations in the chromosomes of test animals and plants, Muller pioneered in using X-rays to greatly increase the mutation rate in fruit flies. But all he and other researchers found was that mutations were always harmful. H. G. Muller, Time, November 11, 1946, page 38. E. G. Gardner, Principles of Genetics, 1964, page 192. Theodosius W. Ansky, Genetics and the Origin of Species, page 1951, page 73. Sigmund Freud, 1856 to 1936, was deeply indebted to the evolutionary training he received in Germany as a man. He fully accepted it, as well as Haeckel's recapitulation theory. Freud began his introductory lectures on psychoanalysis, 1916, within Haeckel's premise: each individual somehow recapitulates in an abbreviated form the entire development of the human race. R. Milner, Encyclopedia of Evolution, 1990, page 177. Freud's Oedipus complex was based on a theory of primal horde he developed about a mental complex that cavemen families had long ago. His theories of anxiety complex and oral and anal stages were based on his belief that our ancestors were savages. H. G. Wells, 1866 to 1946, the science fiction pioneer, based his imaginative writing on evolutionary teachings. He had received a science training under Professor Thomas H. Huxley, Darwin's chief defender. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, 1856 to 1930, like a variety of other evolutionary leaders before and after, was an avid spiritist. Many of his mystery stories were based on evolutionary themes. George Bernard Shaw, 1856 to 1950, was so deeply involved in evolutionary theory that he openly declared that he wrote his plays to teach various aspects of the theory. R. Milner, Encyclopedia of Evolution, 1990, page 461. Pitdown Man, 1912, parts of a jaw and skull were found in England and dubbed Pitdown Man. News of it created a sensation. The report of a dentist in 1916 who said someone had filed down the teeth was ignored. As we will learn below, in 1953, the fact that it was a total hoax was uncovered. This line basically taught that there is no moral code, our ancestors were savage, and civilization